I first started taking visualization seriously when I started competing in weightlifting around 15 years ago, because there's 3 attempts for the snatch and 3 attempts for the clean and jerk in a meet, and each attempt probably lasts less than 5 to 10 seconds, right? And you can only train so much because of, how much strain it will put on your physical body and your nervous system. And this is true in any sport, right? Or any activity. You can only, rehearse so much physically, but visualization became a tool where there was a lot of research at the time coming out around how you can simulate a lot of these experiences and these, patterns so that your body remembers them when you actually go tackle them physically. And so since those days, I've always paid attention to different techniques, different formats that other athletes or other creatives might be using, because I'm always open to testing this stuff out. And I came across this technique from Michael Phelps, and his coach, Bob Newman, had instilled this practice in him from a very early age. It was actually something that, his mom would get him to do. So ever since then, I have always kept an eye out for new techniques or formats or methods that other people are using for visualization, because of course I'm like anybody, I've fallen on and off the boat. And this method that I came across from Michael Phelps was one that actually made me go, oh, I think I can actually do that, right? It didn't require sitting down for hours and, getting really zen before you play these images in your mind. Now, to back it up a bit, Coach Bob Newman, who is Michael Phelps' coach, instilled this practice in him at a very early age. So by race day, Phelps had already been there dozens of times, if not hundreds, and he had imagined every possible scenario of things that could go wrong, including his goggles filling up with water. So the pressure of the moment, the noise of the crowd, the goggles filling up, unexpected lane conditions, all of these were scenarios that his mind and body were not facing for the first time on race day, right? He was able to simulate these bottlenecks and these friction points well ahead of time. One of the reasons this spoke to me is because fear exposure reduces initial anxiety. I remember this, very, very vividly, where the fear that I would feel even, right before the bar left the floor, right? The heaviness that you would feel, the barbell kind of coming off the floor, reminding yourself it's supposed to feel heavy, all right? In your visualization, if you imagine everything feeling super easy, that may surprise you when you actually are there on your meet day and things feel heavier than you expected. So I found this technique very effective in being able to simulate a lot of these things that your brain just doesn't want to do, right? It wants to maintain the illusion that everything will go perfectly. So you're probably wondering, how long does it actually take to practice this? I prefer to mix this technique with something that I heard Dr. Andrew Huberman say on one of his podcast episodes related to visualization. He was talking about how it doesn't need to be these long, drawn out sessions in order to be effective. In fact, the most effective sessions are short bursts that are 15 seconds or less, right? So when you think about imagining a certain scenario or a certain rep in your mind, it's like, who doesn't have 15 seconds, right? The hard part, I think, is calming your body down and getting into the zone of being able to vividly visualize in the first place, which, a side note, I think this has been greatly weakened, collectively for us all, just because reading has gone down. Not a lot of people read as much as they used to, and reading is one of the best brain exercises for helping your, mind come up with actual images, right? Versus when you're watching a movie or something, all those images are being created for you and given to you. So this is a way that you can also practice that muscle of being able to recreate the exact conditions and scenarios and in the environments that you're actually going to be in. And the best thing is that visualization is free, right? It is not something that you need a gym membership for. It's not something you have to hire an expensive coach for. It's literally something that you have access to anytime you need it for anything that actually matters. Now, of course, Michael Phelps has applied this to what matters to him, which was swimming, but I encourage you to apply this to anything that actually matters to you. Now, let's dive into the 3-step practice that Michael Phelps uses, and remember that you can apply this to any high-stakes moment that matters to you. Conversation, a presentation, anything that has, limited attempts in the real world that you're able to rehearse mentally for as many reps as you want to. Now, the first step is going to be visualize how you want it to go. This is what you want to see clearly, and this is the step that most visualization techniques actually include already, right? Imagining the ideal conditions. But the second step is really one of my favorites, which is visualize how you don't want it to go. And this one you don't want to skip, because this is where all the gold is, in my opinion, because you get to expose yourself to all of the nuances and bottlenecks that would be absolutely terrifying to actually experience in the moment. Just like Michael Phelps with his goggles filling up, he can probably envision what would he do, right? What would his vision look like when that's happening? That is stuff that he can actually think through when things are not as panicked around him and he's made the space to visualize. The third and final step is to visualize how it could go in a perfect world. So you've put in your prep. If everything goes according to the conditions that you want, what would that actually look like? If you genuinely put effort into conjuring all three of these scenes, you have exposed yourself to a wide range of outcomes before you even step into the room. Remember that a lot of people can't do this, and so this becomes an unfair advantage if you really train this skill. And the people that can't do this, it's not because of discipline. It is because most of the time you can't still your mind long enough to actually visualize clearly. The cost of visualization is so low, and the upside scales with whatever you're actually working toward. No matter who you are or what you do, you have your own version of your race, the high stakes moment that matters to you. And thankfully, you probably won't have to hold your breath underwater to win it.